Labor Day, everyone. It's been a wonderfully beautiful day, and I thought it would be a good time to talk about a guy who seems like he might be a psychopath. Of course, I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not able to diagnose anyone. That's just my opinion. Pretty much like everything I talk about, my opinion based on facts and evidence that I observe in the public domain. You might look at those same facts and evidence and come to a different conclusion. A lot of people do, that's your right. But anyway, some people find my opinions interesting. Palmer Luckey, he's a guy that I've known about for quite a while. Most people know who he is, maybe some people don't. He's a billionaire, tech billionaire guy, you know, kind of a tech bro. Boy wonder, teen prodigy. I guess he's in his 30s now, but he is the guy who developed the Oculus Rift virtual reality headset that was sold to Meta, Facebook at the time, I guess, for $2 billion or something like that. And then he got kicked out over some issue with donating money to Trump or whatever was going on at Facebook. And he started this company called Anderil. But the thing is, I never really gave too much consideration to Palmer Luckey. I don't think I had an opinion of him one way or the other, positive or negative. I did have one of those Oculus Rifts. You know, everybody knows who watches Crowdsource the Truth that I was very interested in 3D stuff. So I had one of his dev kits. But like I said, I never really thought about the guy, Palmer Luckey, until like a year ago. Let me go through this so that people understand how this all happened, because he's accused me of various things that are just false. And I don't think he understands the difference between an opinion, a mistake, and a lie, a deliberate false statement. So let's go through this. It just came up again the other day. I don't exactly remember why, but I don't know, maybe I was posting about him. I don't think a lot of people have too many questions about why somebody like me might be posting things on the internet about somebody like him. He's an internationally famous technologist, business person. His company, Anduril, just got a $30 billion valuation from like a $2.5 billion round of investing. It makes it's just outside of the top 10 most valuable privately held companies ever. One statistic I looked at had it at number 12. SpaceX being number 1 at like 300 billion. But still, that's significant. I mean, that's the type of thing that people like me, independent journalists, video bloggers, whatever you want to consider me, it's the type of thing that people like me might talk about. And also, you know, he's got 400,000 people following him on X. If you're not following me on X, that's where all this action is going down. You can go there at JG_CSTT. I think a lot of people understand why somebody like me might be talking and posting about somebody like him, and it's not to imply that I'm like engagement farming by talking about that dope. I just want to go through the organic process by which he came up and became kind of a part of this story. People who want to sponsor the show and keep it going, you can do that by going to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. It's expensive to keep it for me. You know, I don't have $2 billion. It's expensive to keep all these services going. The multiple mobile data subscriptions that I have, the failover system, all this technology, food, rent, everybody knows, costs money. So if you like the show, please become a sponsor. What happened was, most people recall, July 13th, 2024, somebody tried to kill Donald Trump. Thankfully failed. But a lot of people had questions and doubts about what was going on over there. So Chuck Grassley released this report, this FPOTUS after action report, the former president of the United States after action report that had been published by the Beaver County ESU. Beaver County ESU, that's the Emergency Services Unit. They're controlled by the district attorney of Beaver County, and that was a multi-county cooperative, co-agency team. Obviously, Butler is a small municipality, so they don't have all the resources that they need like New York City does. So they have this multi-county, multi-agency emergency services team. And I just filed a right to know request with the district attorney. And this had to be a mistake. I haven't shared too much of this, but I'm going to share a page here from this right to know action that resulted in them sending me a bunch of information. Now, I'm pretty sure they made a mistake because they sent me an unredacted report. And I can't imagine that the cops wanted me to see all that so that I don't get kicked off of these various social media platforms. I've redacted the phone numbers of these individuals, but in that report was this communications list, and you can see all the dates and everything. I didn't make this, they sent this to me. I've redacted the phone numbers of the individuals, but you can see there's a guy on there, that's Special Agent Eduardo Castro, counter UAS. So now what the hell is that? I was like, wait a minute, counter UAS? UAS is an unmanned aerial system. And I know that because I used to be involved in a company called AeroCine. I was the CEO of a drone company back in 2014. We were focused on aerial cinematography. I actually showed a clip from this on the show the other night with Charles. People who were watching on subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, or people who were watching on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or on Odyssey, or if you subscribe to me on X, you would have seen a segment from Daydreams of Dubai, which was a ride film that we shot in Dubai using this coaxial heavy lift hexacopter that we had developed. And at the time, it was the most advanced, the most powerful consumer, non-military, heavy lift UAS. I mean, it's talking 11 years ago, so that technology has been surpassed many times over. But UAS, unmanned aerial system, that company AeroCine was actually involved in working with various other aerial photography, something called Helinet, and working with lawyers and the FAA in getting some of the original regulations drafted around consumer UAS use, civilian, I should say, not consumer, civilian unmanned aerial systems. And so counter UAS is any kind of technology or system intended to counteract a UAS. And the thing is, so I just saw that guy's name, Eduardo Castro. I had no idea who that guy was. I didn't seek him out. The Beaver County ESU sent me that, telling me he's on their call list as the counter UAS operator. And I said, well, who the hell is that guy? And so we started looking into Eduardo Castro. We found this guy, Rafael Eduardo Castro II. He's an Air Force dude. What does he say there? He's a highly skilled U.S. Air Force remote piloted aircraft maintenance and blah, blah, all that. Electromechanical technician with this company here. What is this thing called? Mission Technology. What is it? Here it is. He's got, there it is. Okay, so we looked that up. Mission Support and Tech Services. Go to their website. This thing is located at that Nevada. This is like a quasi-government agency, right? And so they had this article here about a private defense company to test leading technologies at the Nevada National Security Site. I didn't know what any of this crap was. I hadn't even heard of Anderil at this time. And actually, people, if you've heard my phone call with Raffi, Mr. Castro there, which is on Twitter. People have heard that phone call with Raf, right? I don't want to play it right now, but I actually call it, I think, Anderil. I wasn't even familiar with Anduril, so I was just contacting this guy to find out what the hell was going on in Butler, PA. I think a lot of people were curious about that, and you can see how just a normal process of investigative journalism. People like to disparage me, say Jason's not a journalist. I don't care. Say whatever you want. I was investigating these facts through that organic process of finding them, just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So that brought up Anderil. I had never heard of it before. Rafael Eduardo Castro, he acted super suspiciously on that phone call. I think most people agree. What's going on? Regular ambulance activity, I guess. But basically, anybody who heard that phone call, I mean, he didn't say, drones? Butler, Pennsylvania, what are you talking about? I'm a pipe fitter. He told me, this is a government phone number and you're never to call here again. And he hung up. And he's like, who do you work for? He just was really caught off guard, seemed quite upset that I had his phone number. I didn't do anything wrong. The cops gave me that. So yeah, he behaved super weird. And, we were doing shows about this. And so I put out a tweet where I was saying like, oh yeah, John Cullen, maybe it was in that last tweet where we had Raphael there. Is this the one where I'm talking about it? I said, John Cullen and I have presented evidence that, here I think I scroll down after I'm talking about this. I say that we had presented evidence that Anderil drones were in use. Now that doesn't mean that I've proven in court that Anderil drones were used in Butler, PA. I'm saying I see evidence, and that evidence is this guy's name on the list. The other evidence was him behaving strangely. That article about the Nevada National Security Site working with Anduril, it's evidence, it's not proof. I always want people to be aware of that distinction. There's evidence there, And by the way, counter-UAS technology, it's not like they said somebody was using a cell phone or driving a car. There's a lot of manufacturers that make cell phones and cars. There's not that many that make counter-UAS technology. I mean, maybe there are more now than there were a year ago, but there might be a dozen, there might be less. When I looked, I saw maybe 5 or 6 companies, and most of them were making things that were like satellites that went on the top of your SUV or your Humvee and were, I presume, disrupting the radio communications with the drones to cause them to crash. It's just counter anything that stops them. There was one company that was shooting a net at the drone. There are some that made guns that you point, like a big electronic microwave gun that shoots radio waves at the thing. Most of them were based on disrupting it with radio waves and electromagnetic technology. Anderil had the Anvil counter-UAS device, which was unique in that it was a kinetic deterrent. It was one of the fastest drones available, and it can fly about 200 miles an hour and actually smash into the thing. I guess using artificial intelligence, or I don't know exactly how it works, but the demonstrations show a very fast flying drone smashing into enemy drones to counteract the UAS, counter UAS. So the evidence that we were examining that was evidence of Anderil drones in Butler, PA, was the presence of Rafael Eduardo Castro's name on the communications sheet provided by the Beaver County ESU. The fact that Castro worked at that Mission Flight Services Technology, whatever the hell it's called, on the Nevada National Security Site. the article that said that that company was working with Anduril to test their technology. This is evidence. And we were asking questions. Now, I had another clip in here. Let me make sure that I've played this because it had an important piece that I wanted to share with everybody where I was saying that, you know, Cullen and I, we were examining this evidence that, maybe is it this? Or this? We were examining evidence. Yeah, I think I've forgotten some of my... Okay, so here we go. This is it. Right, so we were... And then we got this video from Drill Baby Drill. Sorry, that's the second one. So let me back up. I want to show everybody exactly how this all came about. So first, September 24th, Drill Baby Drill sends me his video. And we see this thing flying. And some people say, oh, that's a bug. And I say, Butler PA assassination attempt eyewitness Drill Baby Drill has sent me his original 1080p camera recording. No doubt remains. I'm talking about my doubts. And also, I think Palmer Luckey had already weighed in at this point because he was pissed off about this. I'm saying no doubt remains that this is an Anduril drone. Why did the Secret Service, Palmer Luckey, why did he lie? What are they hiding? And so then people said to me, nah, that's a bug. And I was continuing to examine the evidence as closely as I possibly could. So that's when I saw this, which just even within that video, if you scroll back to the original frame, we can see, watch that close-up, see there? We've got this flying object is in front of this tractor. So that helps us determine the distance. We're looking at a 2D video here. And clearly it's not an anvil because it's too small. An anvil is pretty large. It's, you know, maybe the size of like a cigar box or something. And this is something that I agree is closer in size to an insect. We can make that determination because it is occluding this farm equipment. It's in front of it quite clearly. This is what's called a monoscopic depth cube. We don't have a 3D video of this, and I'm saying the current hypothesis is that this is an Anderil drone. It hasn't been proven yet, and that could be wrong. This is September 26th, 2 days after I said there was no doubt. And we can see that 4D Forensic and I continue to work to determine exactly what this is. Now, 4D Forensic, I'm very concerned. I haven't heard from him in a long, long time. That was Hendrik, and he and I were in regular communication on Twitter and on Zoom. You know, he lived in Germany. He just completely fell off one day. We didn't have an argument or no disagreement even. We were, I think, developing a good working relationship and arguably a friendship, and then he just disappeared. So I was very concerned about what might have happened to him. I even put out several messages toward his X account saying, hey, does anybody know what happened to 4D Forensic? I just have no information. The guy completely disappeared. But what he was able to do, you know, he was the first guy to make a photogrammetric model of the site, and he was doing various different things with measuring the distance, the size, estimating the speed. We got a lot of good information from him. And so within 2 days, I corrected my hypothesis and said it's not an Anvil drone, but I still think it might be an Anderil drone of some kind. I mean, this company is getting billions of dollars doing all kinds of research that they admit is not all public. Palmer Luckey at that time made some kind of comment about how they had 6 drones that had been released and additional drones that hadn't been released, some number like that. So what I'm saying there on September 26th, 2024 is that I still think it's an Anderil drone because we still have that article that Rafael Eduardo Castro is testing with Anderil at that, you know, quasi-government, you know, Nevada National Security site. I don't know if that's a private company or a government contractor or what that is exactly. But the reason I said that was because I presume they have technology that we don't know about. What's interesting is just about a month or two ago, China released this video showing a mosquito-sized drone. And I don't think they built it a month or two ago. That had to be in development, I would think, for more than a year. I mean, does Anderil have something like this? Now, granted, this article is telling us it's got limited battery life and, you know, limited range and all these kind of limitations that it has. Obviously, the thing is tiny as hell. But they're also saying that's got cameras in it, and it's for battlefield reconnaissance, or who knows what kind of technology they can shove into something like that. I have no idea. Maybe you could shoot a laser at it to power it. Maybe it's got batteries on it. I don't know. I'm sure there's technology that exists that I can't comprehend. Maybe it could be solar powered. I don't know. My point is, we just see something flying there. And what I do know is photographing insects is super difficult. Picking up an insect on an iPhone video, and everyone's gonna say, oh, you know, the iPhone, it was a sunny day, so to control exposure, it's gonna automatically use a very high-speed shutter. So you would capture the wings. And believe me, I understand all of that. I'm just saying, I still don't think it would image the wings of an organic insect such that every frame of it, I mean, let's look at that video again. You can basically see the wings of the insect in each frame of the video. And moreover, they're in almost the same position. You know, it's highly suggestive that that's some sort of electromechanical device. I'm not saying that is proof. I'm saying it's kind of like evidence. It might be. I don't know. We're looking at evidence. We're asking questions. It just seems strange to me. And perhaps the strangest thing is, why does Palmer Luckey care what I say at all? He'll tell you, oh, it's because, Jason, you're a retard and you're lying and you're talking about my company. Well, okay. You know, I've said a lot of things about, I didn't like it that the Apple laptop, the MacBook, had done away with MagSafe power connectors, and I was saying that Tim Cook doesn't know what he's doing releasing this Apple Vision Pro. Nobody's going to buy this for $3,500, and he's out of ideas. He's unable to innovate. He's not good for Apple's future. Get rid of him. He didn't say anything. Tim Cook is busy making billions of dollars. He doesn't care what I say. Likewise, Elon Musk. How many times have I tried to tell Elon Musk? Have people been to the beach over here? This is the New York City beach, allegedly. How many times have I tried to tell Elon Musk about the Twitter coup? He doesn't care. He's busy with the billions, right? Maybe Elon Musk is a bad example because he's the richest guy in the world. Palmer Luckey only has $2 billion. But let's talk about Jason Calacanis. I've posted a lot of unfavorable things about him. I was saying, hey, you were there at Twitter on November 1st when I got attacked. You admitted to it on a podcast for 2 years, right? Coming up on 3 years. I've been tweeting at that guy. He's not a billionaire. Calacanis, I mean, he's busy. He's got a podcast that he hosts. He's got his family, kids, investments and stuff. Yeah, this is the beach. New York City beach. Cute dog. Why not dye the dog pink, purple, whatever we got going on there? My point is, Calacanis did finally write back the other day. He got upset because he was on the All In podcast talking about lawfare. And I said he wouldn't know lawfare if it flicked him on the testicles. But you see, in that case, Bill Pulte got involved. I don't know, maybe that had something to do with J. Cal responding, but it just seemed strange to me, not only that Palmer Luckey would respond, But I mean, this guy responds to my tweets like an ex-girlfriend in high school. I mean, look at this. I just did a search this morning of all the tweets that Palmer Luckey is mentioning at JG_CSTT. It's an incredibly long list. And what I wanted to do was to determine, you know, when did this whole beef actually get started? So you gotta go all the way. Look at this crazy list, right? So it looks like it began, I think, September 9th. He tells me I'm retarded, which is, you know, that's insensitive to people with special needs. But whatever. First Amendment for him to say that. He's free to say that. Right, this was it. I said, well, apparently I was the only one who didn't know that Matt Gaetz' wife Ginger was Palmer Luckey's sister, because John Cullen and I had done a show talking about this evidence, saying, hey, Anderil, FBI, there you go. The FBI and the cops think you're stupid. We're talking about this evidence of an Anduril drone. There's a suspended account. I don't know what that thing was talking about, but I even say in here, I'm not suggesting that Matt Gaetz or Palmer Luckey did anything wrong, and he comes in and says, you're a retard. Because I guess he's got nothing better to do, despite his $30 billion company, his personal wealth of over $2 billion, his family, his wife, his personal wealth of over $2 billion, his family, his wife, his business, everything you'd think that a person like this would be occupied doing. No, he's busy responding. Look at all that. How does he have time for that? Why do Anderil investors or executives, I don't want to go all the way over there, I think we might lose the signal, but I wanted people to see the beach on this Labor Day. I guess they'll close this pretty soon. This thing is right next to, you can see the World Trade Center down there. This thing is right next to Barry Diller's famous Diddle Island, right over there. We could head over to Diddle Island and check that out. But what do people think? I mean, isn't this weird? Why does Palmer Luckey care? A lot of people have already told me that they feel, and I agree, just the very fact that he's engaging with this at all is sort of in and of itself suggestive that it's more than insignificant. Like it must be hitting on something that really bothers him. RR says, was Butler a hoax? I can't imagine that's the case. Brian says, naming a company Anduril is retarded. I think it has something to do with Lord of the Rings, doesn't it? It's Anduril Industries, you know, AI, it's got to do with artificial intelligence. He has his reasons there. Yeah, mosquito drone, scary, right? Well, and I mean, look, I'm not saying that because China has a mosquito drone that means China was there, or that because China has a mosquito drone that Anderil necessarily has a mosquito drone. I'm just saying I'm aware of that industry and the types of things that are possible. Here, this guy did a whole video about the China mosquito drone. And I mean, by the way, if China is putting this on television, don't we think it's not their ultimate cutting-edge technology? This was being developed at this National University of National Defense or something. This guy's showing it on TV in China. So I have to presume they have other, you know, even better technology than this. I don't think they'd be showing you the latest up-to-the-minute thing. We also had this other thing, I think this is from Norway maybe, the FLIR, what was it called, the Black Hornet or something like that, this little hand-sized. This thing had all kinds of crazy capabilities that could fly around and do all kinds of stuff. So my point is the notion that there might be a drone the size of an insect, where when you see it in flight on an iPhone video, you know, this guy's not out there with a Phantom and some giant telephoto lens. It's just a dude holding up an iPhone 13, I think he said it was. Wasn't even the latest phone. You know, Todd the Driller, Drill Baby Drill, whatever the guy's name was. holding up his iPhone, captures this thing. By the way, people who notice the time code, it's less than 2 minutes after Trump was shot. So if the thing has, 5 minutes of flight time, 4 minutes of flight time, who knows what? Well, what do these girls think about the assassination attempt? It's just weird to me. Ah, man, there was one other clip from the back of the building where on a body cam, a cop's camera picks up two things flying as somebody walks across on the roof, somebody else walks across on the ground. There's just all this coordinated activity. Those could be bugs, could be birds, could be fireflies. Like I said, this stuff hasn't been proven in court. Palmer Luckey, maybe he's a genius at something, but I think he's a little stupid because he doesn't seem to know the difference between speculation and error and a deliberate lie. He wants people to believe that I'm lying, and I've also noticed something of a pattern. This also could be a coincidence, but when I say something that Palmer Luckey responds to on Twitter, which I can only presume he's doing because it has some importance to him. It's more important than hanging out with his wife and his kids or tending to his $30 billion company for him to spend time looking at and responding to what I'm putting on X. It really defies logic in a lot of ways, but that's what he's doing. And when he does that, there will be these anonymous accounts, mostly pretty new ones, 2 years old or less, that show up and support the Palmer Luckey narrative. One of them was saying, "Oh, Jason's a traditional shill. Let's see what he's invested in," or something like that. See who's paying me. A shill, for people who may not know, which is probably nobody, is someone who is paid. Advertising or shilling. Like I see these. Maybe Morty's or somebody's cauliflower crust pizza. I see it at the supermarket. Sounds disgusting to me, cauliflower crust pizza. But then I saw a YouTube video reviewing it, said it's delicious. I haven't tried those pizzas, but maybe that person was paid to tell you the cauliflower pizza is delicious so that you go buy it. That would be shilling. I assure you, no one is paying me to talk about Palmer Luckey or all of this stuff. I've just explained to everyone and shown exactly how this stuff even came up, how it came to my attention. I literally never heard of Anderil before the Beaver County ESU sent me Rafael Eduardo Castro's phone number. I found him before the Beaver County ESU sent me Rafael Eduardo Castro's phone number. I found him on LinkedIn working for a company testing Anduril technology, counter UAS technology, and he's the counter UAS drone operator on, and he doesn't for Palmer Luckey, you fucking asshole. What else did I want to tell people about this? Sometimes hard to see these little videos on here. That might be it. I mean, that's really the run through of all the information here. Yeah, so I mean, that's what I'm saying. Anderil, look at who's investing in it. So they just got $2.5 billion. It's a lot of money. You could probably invent some pretty creative drones. It's Peter Thiel's Founders Fund. Isn't J.D. Vance involved in that some way? I'm not accusing these guys of anything. I'm just saying, these are facts that are coming to my attention. There was also Joshua Kushner is involved in investing in this thing. And people might say, well, wait a minute. Isn't Trump... I guess he's nothing to Joshua Kushner. That's Jared Kushner's brother. I guess he's not technically, I don't know, is your brother's father-in-law also your father-in-law? I don't think so. He's your brother's father-in-law. But you know, people are asking me, and by people I mean mostly these fake accounts that are hovering around Palmer Luckey when I bring this stuff up. Palmer Luckey says, oh, Jason says I tried to assassinate Trump. I didn't say that. You even saw in those early tweets, I'm saying, hey, I'm not accusing Palmer Luckey or Ginger Luckey or Matt Gaetz or Anderil of anything. I'm just saying, here's all this evidence of Anduril counter-UAS technology being used in Butler PA. Why are people acting like this? Frankly, Palmer Luckey's response to all of this might be the single largest and most conspicuous piece of evidence unfavorable to him, because it just doesn't make sense that he would get involved in this conversation at all. I think most people would expect that a person of his financial status and business acumen, guy with his busy schedule, just simply would not pay attention to me at all. And the fact that he's put so much attention on this is incredibly conspicuous, in my opinion. Doesn't mean he's guilty, but he says and does a lot of things that make me feel like he is. That seems stupid. That's my opinion. And I mean, when I say things like, oh, he's a psychopath, that's also my opinion, formed by things that he's done. He created this suicide VR helmet that kills the user when you die in the video game. Look at that, it's got these charges mounted. VR helmet that kills the user when you die in the video game. Look at that, it's got these says in interviews and articles that he's never used it, but that if you die in the video game, it would actually kill you. Assassination attempt.
No interviews today, it's a holiday.
No interviews. All right. People don't want to talk about it. But that's psychopathic behavior to me. Who would make a VR headset that kills the user? Who wants to play a video game? You know, he explains it kind of in great detail, that it makes the stakes so high. The concept, it was something to do with some anime, I guess, where that is happening in the animation or the movie or whatever it is, that there's a video game that's so realistic that when you die in the video game, you actually die. It seems sick to me that somebody would put all the energy. I mean, that's obviously complex development there. So I don't know. That's Palmer Luckey, and he seems psychotically obsessed with me and responding to everything that I put on X, asking legitimate questions. Looks like Lee might be out of the hospital. He's contacting me. George's brother says social media cyber attack on Anderil Industries. I guess he's jealous that he's not pictured in the rubber room today. You see, it's interesting how all of these psychopaths come at me. This is not a social media cyber attack. This is investigative journalism. I've just explained to everyone how this information came to me. George's brother is a menace who should be in jail. It's really crazy. All these guys are super obsessed to me. Obsessed with me. So he's saying that Anduril is a DHS contractor and that this is a blended social media cyber attack. Not allowed to do journalism about Palmer Luckey or Anderil, or the fact that they had, George's brother is a dangerous menace to the public. He really needs to be enjoined from ever communicating with any third parties about me again. So who is he emailing here? The DHS, Office of the Inspector General. He's such a lunatic. Dave, why don't you find something better to do? You pathetic piece of shit. What do people think about the fact that for 8 years, these guys have hounded me? Do we think it's because George's brother is just a psychopath? I mean, it's clear that he's got mental problems, but it seems like he would also have better things to do. He's got a disabled kid that he cried about in a phone call for abandoning. Who was that told me about that? Corrine Stoughton said that was his biggest regret, abandoning his son. Maybe she lied to me, but that's what she said. She shared a voicemail. It seemed like bad acting. But, you know, these guys have been working for 8 years to shut me down, to prevent me from talking about stuff like this. Now, if it were nonsense, why would they care? You know, it reminds me of what's going on with that school shooting in Minneapolis. They had pages and pages of the manifesto released right away. I agree with John Cullen that it's notable and interesting that it's written in Russian. Seems anomalous. I don't know too many American 23-year-olds that can speak and write in Russian. But what's even more anomalous is that thing has been published and it's all over everywhere. You know how quickly they shut down videos that they don't want going out and how quickly content gets removed from the internet. You know, is George's brother such a psychopath that he's dedicated 8 years of his life every day? People understand why I'm out here making videos every day. I'm trying to earn a living by asking people to sponsor the show on subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. He's busy suing those companies, trying to shut them down, trying to get me kicked off of there so that I can't earn money, sending emails to the Department of Homeland Security because I'm sharing factual information and evidence with everybody as I ask that they sponsor the show on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or follow me on X at JG_CSTT. He is a sick psychopath, an enemy of the U.S. Constitution and the First Amendment, and frankly, he should be in jail for cyber stalking and harassing me. Hopefully that's going to happen soon. But he's here, you know, he's got all this information about Anderil. He's sending them the link to the video. He's really a psychopath. You're a sick, weird guy, Dave. Maybe that's why you have so many problems in your life. Maybe that's why your father enjoyed punching you and making you bleed and cry. But here I am still after 8 years, thanks to everybody who sponsors the show. Couldn't do it without you guys. What do people think? Rather than George's brother, let me look at the comments here from people who are watching. Does this seem like normal behavior? Well, Riddick says it's jealousy. I mean, I get it that that's a knee-jerk response, but do you really feel, what would they be jealous of, first of all? That I've gone from 120,000 subscribers to 7,000? That I can barely earn a living, whereas I used to be making a healthy living from doing this? Are they jealous of that? And would jealousy drive them for 8.5 years to file thousands of pages in court? It's a lot of work. It's not just these stupid emails on holiday weekends where this obsessed loser who's so miserable that his miserable life can only be used to bring more misery to everyone. What would be accomplished really by preventing me from sharing this information with people? Yeah, people are asking who is paying him for the lawsuits. Well, it's an excellent question. I don't know. And by the way, maybe it is just jealousy. Maybe it is just a psychopathic obsession from a deeply mentally disturbed lunatic who should be in a rubber room. Maybe. I just don't think so. I don't see how that could possibly be. It seems like far too much effort for that to be it. The cost, I mean, every time he sues me, it's a $550 fee. Every appeal is $605. Now, wait a minute, this park is finally open. Hey, look at that. Let's have a look. So this is the new under the Highline Park. finally open. This is the first time I've seen it open. I mean, it's a small park. Now, I thought this was going to be a dog park or perhaps a chicken park, but nobody has really pet chickens. It's just a small plaza. And then I guess this will be something, Faina, I don't know what. But there you go, everybody. We get to stay up on all the latest developments in New York City. Why don't they make this a skate park and then, start advertising for people who want to skateboard illegally that you should come over to the skate park? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's just jealousy. That could be the case. But, I mean, who could keep that up for 8 years? That would be such a psychotic obsession. And even if it were just jealousy driven by a psychotic obsession, it's a lot of dedication, The psychotically obsessed, I guess I just don't know that much about it. Has anybody ever heard of a case like that where a psychotically obsessed fucking loser spends 8.5 years of his life and so much energy, which, by the way, he's failing. He's been at this for something like 30 years. I mean, if I had to guess, let's get to the speculation portion of the show. These aren't statements that have been proven in court. This is my opinion and speculation based on the evidence that we've been looking at. So some of these fake accounts that swirl around Palmer Luckey, they say, Palmer Luckey will say, Jason wants you to believe that I tried to assassinate the president. And then a fake account will say, why would Palmer Luckey want to do that? And I presume the fake account is doing that because it's trying to bait me into saying something that Palmer Luckey could use in the event that I choose to sue him for defamation. Because he's got to realize that he's said actionable things. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to sue him, because even in the case where the law and the facts are on my side, suing anyone, particularly a billionaire, is problem fraught. The courts aren't exactly favorable to me, and you just really never know which way something like that will go. So it would be a lot of time and money for me to spend, but I suspect that Palmer Luckey wants to inject items into the record where I say things that he could raise in court. So it's important that people understand that what I'm about to say is my opinion that could be incorrect and hasn't been proven. But if I were to speculate, so this fake account said, why would Palmer Luckey want to assassinate the president? Well, one reason could be Donald Trump has spoken quite a lot about wanting to end the war in Ukraine, and I do believe Anderil was selling lots of equipment and products to NATO or Ukraine, or, testing their stuff in Ukraine, or they would seem to have a desire to keep the war in Ukraine going, I think. Additionally, maybe they were there to try to stop an assassination. I don't know, but they're acting weird. So then let's get to more speculation. Somebody just said, who is paying George's mentally ill, wife-swapping, hog-fucking, paperclip Nazi brother? I would have to presume it's the Lawfare Institute or someone affiliated with them, because that's really when this all came about. Yeah, see, this is such a lunatic. He's into these blended cyber attacks. So, see, let's look at this from the standpoint of, George's brother is a government contractor. Palmer Luckey is a government contractor. So they want threats out there so that people feel the need to hire them, right? George's brother wrote all these white papers about blended cyber attacks and, cognitive threats. So in order for him to not be the irrelevant, fat ass, obsolete loser that he is, he needs there to be a perception that there are these cognitive threats coming from blended cyber attacks. And he needs to convince people that what I'm doing is not independent investigative journalism, trying to figure out what was going on in Butler, Pennsylvania. He needs to frame it to suit his narrative, and that's what Palmer Luckey is doing, in my estimation. I don't know. Hey, look at that. Here's another park that I've never been in. I love that sign, it says no skateboarding. Here, we'll check out this park. This is like a lot of little kids playing in the park. We'll leave them alone. This is maybe something of a private park. So they've got this gate, and it says no skateboarding. What park is this? It's a playground. Yeah, so that's different. Interesting. Never been in there before. Anyway, my point is, we've got two similar lunatics, both government contractors, self-admitted. That's the other thing. Palmer Luckey says, oh, Jason wants you to think that I'm a deep state something or other recruited as a teenager. I don't know that I've ever said that he was recruited as a teenager. I said that I had doubts about his story about developing the Oculus Rift because I always presumed that his patents were on some kind of anamorphic squeezing that he was doing to create a super wide field of view in that headset using NVIDIA GPUs to, in real time, unsqueeze, kind of the Panavision of, like ultra Panavision of VR. Because that was what I had understood was innovative about the technology, but no, his only patent on it was a design patent for the appearance of the headset, and the product that Mark Zuckerberg ultimately released looked nothing like his headset, so the design patent wouldn't even, I don't know, there were just a number of things about it that I didn't trust. And by the way, I don't think I said that. He said that. And I mean, don't people join the Army when they're teenagers? The notion that somebody would be recruited by the Department of Defense when they were a teenager doesn't sound that crazy. How did Strobe Talbot and Bill Clinton get to the Soviet Union in the 1960s? And what was Strobe Talbot doing? Translating, was it Khrushchev, Nikita Khrushchev? His memoirs. You telling me some 20-year-old college kid just did that? And nobody in the Department of Defense or the CIA or something like that, nobody knew about that? Oh, wow, smashed windshield there on that C6. That just, I don't know. The fact that he says that, I think Palmer Luckey might have diarrhea of the mouth, where he says a lot of things that I haven't even said that might reveal what he's actually up to. Is that a Jack Russell?
It's a terrier mix.
Cute little dog. So, I don't know. He obviously is connected with the Department of Defense now. He's selling them all kinds of top secret equipment, and he's got to have some kind of security clearance. You know, George's brother used to say he was, what did he used to say he was? Some kind of mentally ill CIA shill. What was his tagline? I don't even remember. You know, they're crazy people. But yeah, that's seems to be it. I mean, see, the other thing about George's mentally ill, wife-swapping, hog-fucking, paperclip Nazi brother that doesn't make any sense is that he's willing to do things that appear to be against the law. That also makes me think it's not just jealousy and lunacy. He's got to be protected by someone, you know? And it's also, remember, the first judge that took on his lawsuit against me in the Southern District of New York was Valerie Caproni, and I didn't realize the implications of that at the time. She was the FBI General Counsel. The second lawsuit against me that was on its face completely unrelated also went to her. That seems very strange. Uncovered mattress is a big fine. Yeah, I know, actually. I found out about that. Just looking at the comments here. So someone says defamation is a crime. I don't think it's a crime, it's a civil tort. But the crime is forging documents and filing them in court, cyber stalking, cyber harassing, using the mail to harass someone, harassing my parents. All of those things are crimes. And he does them ad nauseum with just no fear whatsoever of prosecution. I just personally don't believe that simply an obsessed maniac who was jealous, and I mean, jealous of what? What would he be jealous of? They do everything they can to try to thwart whatever I do, discourage other people from participating in my show. I mean, it really is sick, you know? And it's un-American. The other thing is, their fucking father was a Nazi as far as I can tell. All the evidence I see shows that that dead schizophrenic son of a bitch was a fucking Nazi piece of shit. I'm glad that he used to do what he did to Dave, make him cry and let him know that he was a loser and a piece of shit. It's too bad he's not still alive to continue doing that now. That's the only reason it's too bad. You know, all this bullshit that Dave has said about him being an Army hero, it's got to be false. We know that a component of Operation Paperclip was making up false backgrounds and false identities and false records for these people. A viewer actually contacted me and told me that after her uncle died, she found evidence that he was a Nazi who had been in Operation Paperclip, and she never knew her whole entire life. She even said he didn't even speak with a German accent. And she was shocked when she learned all of this. But it would make sense. That would be, you know, how the sons got involved in intelligence work. They're an intelligence family. And okay, let's explore the possibility that I'm wrong. And maybe George Henry never monetized his invention of the full duplex radio telephone just because he was a fucking idiot like his two sons. That's possible. But if he were an Army hero, he would be ashamed of his disgusting, feckless loser of a fucking asshole son, Dave, because every ounce of his body is un-American. He's against the First Amendment. He's thwarting my ability to earn a living, which would allow me to pay taxes more than I am doing now. I make a fraction of what I used to make, so the government loses out on all that tax income. He's just such a negative. The world would be better without him in it. But I'm dedicating way too much attention to him now. He's going to get attention in court. There's a lot of documents coming at him. He should watch the mail at the America's RV mailbox. See, he's like a litigation hitman. He's set up his life because he's such a loser. He's just set up his life so that he's virtually unsuable. You know, he's got no property in his name. He's got no real, you know, wealth that could be attacked in a lawsuit. And he doesn't even, you know, live at a fixed address. So he does that so he can go around filing papers and doing things over the internet to harass me and sue me. It's really pathetic how much of his life has now been dedicated to harassing and suing me. 8.5 years. What a loser. He can't do anything better than try to thwart me. And if he weren't so pathetic at his job, I would be long gone by now. By the way, it's not that impressive to have minimized what I'm doing with the assistance of Ballard Spahr and Finnegan, Henderson, Faribault, and whoever else they have in there. You got multiple law firms. Meanwhile, even with their interference, I've essentially gotten the experience of somebody who'd been through law school and been an associate at a law firm. Do people realize I now have had 2 amicus curiae briefs accepted in Washington, D.C. District Court? I think that's pretty rare for a pro se. I've used the analogy that it's like going to the Knicks game and sinking the three-point shot at halftime and winning a Cadillac. People can do it, and it's been done, but it's just not that frequent. Anyway, George's asshole brother needs to be shut down. He should be in jail. It's interesting that he's upset that I'm pointing out these things about Palmer Luckey. I'm allowed to talk about Palmer Luckey. I showed everybody the evidence about how all this came about. Totally organic. The real question is, yes, see, Riddick gets it. In my case, it is different. I'm exposing their evil deeds. That's why I say, if I had to speculate, I would guess that George and his fucking asshole brother are paid by the Lawfare Institute or interests that share the interests of the Lawfare Institute, because they're all super concerned about what I say about Ben Wittes and Norm Eisen and Nina Jankowicz, 3 evil pieces of shit themselves who should be in jail. I really hope Donald Trump and the Department of Justice do something to bring down this ridiculous cabal. It was nice to see him talking about the Operation Warp Speed with some questions this morning. But Fletch says, what was George doing with his father-in-law in Eastern Europe back in the early days of his marriage? His FIL reportedly was a German POW in World War II. Wow, I didn't know that. Didn't know that. There's a lot of questions about these questionable assholes. I mean, from my perspective, the question is, why do they care what I say and do? Palmer Luckey, too. Why does he care what I say and do? And his answer, oh, because you're talking about my company. I'm sorry, that's not an adequate answer. I've said a lot of things. I've said a lot of things about Elon Musk's company. I've said a lot of things about Tim Cook's company. I've said a lot of things about Jason Calacanis' company and podcast, the All In Summit. I've said a lot of things about all these guys. In general, they're far too busy. And look, I don't have any misunderstandings about the size of my profile in terms of media and technology. Palmer Luckey is far better known, much wealthier, many, many more people paying attention to and talking about him than me. That's what I'm saying. Why does he care? Doesn't make any sense. But thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great Labor Day, except for you, Dave. Fuck yourself. Everybody else, please become a sponsor on subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. Get on over to X and follow me there at JG_CSTT. You can subscribe. Dave, watch the mailbox. You got a lot of interesting legal filing.